Okay. Well, hi everybody. Hi again. It's always tricky to try to introduce this part following the really interesting information that Wayne shared. And I guess what I want to do is I want to open your minds to a whole concept that sleeping isn't just something that we do so that we can be awake. A lot of people think that sleeping is something that we need to do so that we can make better use of the time when we're awake. We need to go to sleep so that we can have more energy. We need to go to sleep so that we can do our jobs better. We need to go to sleep so that we can play with our children, etc. But the truth is that sleeping is in itself a really important activity that we need to give as much attention, if not more, than everything else we do in our daily life. Hopefully by the end of my talk tonight, you'll have some ideas about how you can support your body to get to sleep, but also more of an understanding of all the different phases in sleep and the importance that sleep plays in our life. And really, apart from breathing and our heart pumping, sleep is right up there with one of the most important things that we can do or should do, and we should be putting every effort into making sure that not only do we go to sleep easily, but that we stay asleep all night and we wake up feeling amazing every morning, because by knowing that is happening, we can be sure that our body's actually doing everything it needs to be doing while we're asleep. Okay? Feel free to ask questions and things, but you might want to wait to the end. So, what is sleep? The $50 million question. The natural periodic state of rest of mind and body. Okay, so here's a summary chart of the time frames for sleep. I'll bring them all up so that you can get an overall idea of what's going on. But as you can see, it starts off, one more, okay. As you can see, oops, okay, how do I go back? Okay, so as you can see, it starts off with the awake and alert stage, which is the beta brainwave activity. It's all about brainwaves and what our body's doing. So beta brainwaves, we're awake, we're alert, and then the next stage down is alpha brainwaves when we're awake but drowsy. And the next stage is stage 1 of non-REM sleep, which is a mixture of alpha and theta brainwaves. And then we go down to stage 2, non-REM sleep, which is theta and the start of delta. Delta is the really deep restorative phase of sleep where all of our body's doing its repair mechanisms, but we'll talk more about that a bit later. And stage 3 are non-REM sleep, and that's pure delta brainwaves before we go into the REM sleep, which is where we're doing our rapid eye movement, we're dreaming, and that's a mixture of theta and delta brainwaves. And that's a single cycle of sleep, okay? So we're busy while we're sleeping. It's not a, passive activity. And all of that happens over about, 50 to 70, the whole thing takes about 70 to 90 minutes depending on what you look at. So the sleep cycle, we've got stage 1, which is when we're in between awake and asleep, and stage 2, we're drowsy and our heart rate is slowing. Stage 3, our body performs repairs, and stage 4, our body temperature and our blood pressure decrease. And stage 5, we go into REM sleep where our eye movements increase, our heart rate, breathing, blood pressure and temperature also change. So here's sleep cycles throughout the night, starting at 0 when we first go to sleep and going through 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. hours of sleep. So as the sleep progresses throughout the night, we have several stages. And as you can see, in the beginning phases, we actually have less REM sleep and more of those other phases. Can you see that clearly? Over here. So the REM here is relatively narrow compared to the thickness here, right? So that shows us that as the night goes on, we actually go into more REM sleep. So when we wake up in the morning, we think we've been dreaming all night. Well, we haven't been. We just have been recently. So that's quite nice to know, because a lot of people have really active dreams, or they wake up completely exhausted from the dream that they've just had, and they think, oh, I've been dreaming all night, I'm absolutely shattered. You've probably thought that a few times yourself. Well, the truth is that you haven't been. You have been getting the deeper, more restorative, rejuvenative stages throughout the night. It's just that as the night's progressed, you've got more REM sleep. Does that make sense? Okay. So which brainwaves occur during sleep? It's nice just to go over a few of these concepts a little bit, so because it might be the first time a few of you have come across the different brainwaves. So we've got beta, wakefulness, alpha, where individuals are relaxing, but you can also get to this state easily with meditation. Theta, which they associate with memories and emotion, and delta occurs during deep sleep. That's that restorative, rejuvenative, repairing stage of sleep. And you know, people that have been doing meditation for years and years and years, you know, like 40 years, can sometimes, if they're very talented, get down to delta phase or brain waves, where their body, they can literally repair their body while they're awake but meditating. Okay, so why is delta sleep so important? Well, it simply rejuvenates the mind, body and spirit. Delta brainwave activity is found during deep sleep only, and delta waves are experienced predominantly in newborn infants as well as healthy adults, but only in deep sleep. I keep trying to stress this importance to you, because a lot of people are getting sleep, or what they consider to be okay sleep, but they're tossing and turning, and they're really not getting down to that delta phase of sleep. So they're really not repairing themselves, they're not rejuvenating, and that's why they're not waking up refreshed. At the delta sleep level, the body literally replenishes all of its energy, and it releases anti-aging hormones, which relieves stress and boosts immunity. So it's super duper important, right? Later we're going to learn a little bit more about melatonin. Melatonin and delta have a really interesting relationship with each other. Basically, you have to have enough melatonin to get into delta, and then once you're in delta, your body will make more melatonin and top up the bucket. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation. But I'll tell you a bit more about melatonin later. Okay, so why do we need sleep? Well, it maintains tissues and cellular repair. It helps us to conserve our energy. It helps us to make energy. It helps us to conserve our energy. It assists with brain function and helps us to form and retain memories. Literally, if we don't sleep, we can't consolidate our memory processing. So I don't know if you've noticed, you know, if you've had a bad night's sleep, the next day you can't remember people's phone numbers, you bump into someone that you haven't seen for 5 years and you go completely blank about who they are, but you know, 5 minutes later you finally scan your C drive and come up with their name. You know, all of that's because you haven't been sleeping, and so the memory processing just isn't working as well as it should be. You're not going nuts, you're just sleep deprived. Okay, so, and it supports healthy immunity. So understanding your body's natural sleep rhythm. We have what's called a circadian rhythm, or a 24-hour internal clock that literally regulates all of our biological processes according to a 24-hour period. And it absolutely governs the sleep-wake cycle. And when we start to interfere with our sleep cycles, it affects our circadian rhythms, and that then affects all of us. So people that say, oh, you know, sleep's not that important, I've got used to it. Oh no, I'm fine, you know, I've been only sleeping 4 hours a night for 20 years or whatever. It's just simply not true. Their body is compensating. It is having to do a whole lot of biochemical rewiring and reprocessing and reprogramming to cope with that change, because it's interfering with the circadian rhythm. So here's a little bit of an idea, just to give you a visual of all of the things that we are doing, we're busy doing, apart from the, you know, 5 billion biological processes that we're doing at any one moment. We're busy doing other things too. So we'll start, you know, like at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're highly alert, hopefully, regardless of coffee status, and we go through to the afternoon time. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it interesting that according to the textbooks, we're supposed to have our fastest reaction time at 3:30. Yet most people I see in clinic complain about having their most challenging time in terms of energy, blood sugar low, or energy, etc., happening between 2 and 4, and that's often the time that people reach for caffeine or sugary foods, chocolate, etc., to try to get through the day. And yet, if we've slept really well, actually that's the time that we're really on it. We're busy. Okay. Also, you can see here melatonin, which is the sleep chemical we're going to be talking more about, starts to be secreted at about 9 o'clock, approximately 3 hours after dark. And then we go through till midnight, and between midnight and 2 a.m, that's when we're supposed to be in our deepest sleep. And yet that's frequently when people are finally getting to sleep or actually starting to wake up again, depending on where you fit in that insomnia cycle. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Not only that, according to traditional Chinese medicine, during the 24 hours that we're awake and asleep, certain organs and organ systems or body systems are more active at certain times than at other times. For example, between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m, the heart is its most energized, innervated, or busiest. And I don't know if you know, but it's not a very nice statistic, but most heart attacks in males happen at lunchtime. And you've got to wonder whether they're doing things like pushing their friend's car, or it's the middle of the day and they're doing physical activities, or they've stopped, they're trying to be healthy and they're at the gym doing their workout to try to manage their stress or their weight, etc. But it's actually not a really very good time for them. Going into the early hours of the morning, between 1 and 3 is what is called liver time, and that is certainly the most common time that we get brought up over and over again in clinic and with the sleep customers that we're dealing with, is that a lot of people wake up between 1 and 3 because the liver is very busy at that time, metabolizing all of our hormones and our chemicals and processing everything that we've been eating during the day or the night or the week before. So it's very interesting. So healthy sleep also depends on a healthy liver. Liver dysfunction, even mild, can cause sleep problems such as impaired liver, because impaired liver function delays the release of melatonin. Melatonin's that naturally occurring sleep chemical that I've made reference to, and the liver certainly is in charge of metabolizing that. So if the liver isn't feeling as happy as it could be, then that's going to impact on melatonin production. And as I mentioned earlier, it's melatonin that you need to go down into that deep delta phase. So you see, it all starts to feed into each other. And I guess the healthy liver is definitely dependent on avoiding foods and drinks that have a detrimental effect on the liver. Within reason, we have to live in a modern society, but we certainly can make sure that we're eating healthy foods and drinking healthy drinks. So what is insomnia? It's the persistent difficulty or the inability to fall and or stay asleep. There are different types of insomnia. The two most common types are delayed sleep onset, which is difficulty getting to sleep, and sleep maintenance, which is difficulty staying asleep, or frequent awakenings, those people that toss and turn and wake up all throughout the night, and or people that go to sleep okay but wake up early in the morning, which is their early morning arousal. So insomnia, just a visual for you here, the two different types. The person lying awake, waiting to fall asleep, and then the other person who's woken in the middle of the night and just really doesn't want to be awake. So many of us don't sleep, as you know. 1/4 of New Zealand adults may suffer from a chronic sleep problem, and I guess this highlights that insomnia is a major public health issue in New Zealand, but the truth is that the latest statistics show that it's worldwide. So loss of major sleep is a major health concern which may lead to the following. We've got weakened immune system, we've got cancer,